Alright guys, welcome back. This time ranking the 70s AC/DC material. Again, as usual, not including a live album, not including the technically recorded in the 70s, the 74 Jailbreak. It was released in 88, but it's only an EP, only 5 songs, so it doesn't count in my album ranking. So just going with the 5 full-length studio albums from the 70s. So we'll go ahead and get into it. Not an easy overall ranking, as far as, because of the material. Just great album after great album. But I do have to say, at number 5, what I feel is the weakest from the 70s material is Dirty Deeds Done Cheap, which was their second release. You got the title track, which is great. Big Balls is always, a big one. Problem Child as well. Ain't No Fun Waiting to Be Around to Be a Millionaire. Ride On. Great songs. And when I say weakest, I'm not saying this is a terrible album by any stretch of the imagination, but I just feel like the other albums pack a bit more of a punch. I kind of feel like this album was a little bit more laid back compared to the rest of their 70s output. At number 4, the final album with Bon Scott, Highway to Hell. With, the standout tracks, obviously you got the title track, but Girls Got Rhythm, Walk All Over You, Beating Around the Bush, Shot Down in Flames, If You Want Blood, Night Prowler. Fantastic songs. And, obviously lost Bon way too early. And I am more partial to the Bon era. I don't hate the Brian Johnson era at all. I do think they were heavier overall with Bon. At number 3, what a lot of people probably have as their number 1, and I wouldn't disagree if you have it at number 1. It just isn't my number 1, and that's Powerage, or some people pronounce it Power Age. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's one word. I don't think it's 2 words. But you got, Riff Raff, which is just a fantastic song. I don't have the track listing on this because this came as a 3-album box set that I received from Ron. But, you got Rock and Roll Damnation, Give Me a Bullet, Down Payment Blues, Gone Shooting, Riff Raff, one of the best side ones you'll probably ever find. Sin City, Up to My Neck in You, What's Next to the Moon, Kicked in the Teeth, fantastic album. I would really probably rate every album other than Dirty Deeds probably is a 10 out of 10. It's just so close. And Dirty Deeds is probably an 8. So I mean, it's not like I said, it's not like I think that's a terrible album by any means. At number 2, what for a long time was my number 1, and I think it goes right there with Van Halen's debuts as one of the best debuts, and that's High Voltage. Now, obviously, I have the American pressings of all their albums. I don't have the versions, the Australian versions. So, but, you got TNT, Can I Sit Next to You, She's Got Balls, High Voltage, great title track. A Long Way to the Top, Rock and Roll Singer, The Jack, Live Wire, all great tunes. I do wish I knew why, for the If You Want Blood live album that I do have, but why the alternate lyrics for The Jack, which, until I got that album, I thought that Brian had redone the lyrics, because I heard that version first on the AC/DC Live 1991, which came out from their Razor's Edge tour. And I thought maybe he did a little something different with the lyrics, similar to what Judas Priest with Rapid Fire with Tim Owens on his live version of that. There's an actual chorus. I thought maybe, Brian did that, but then hearing the If You Want Blood version, it's like, oh, okay, well, Scott Bond rewrote the song, which I'm not exactly sure why. I kind of actually prefer the If You Want Blood version better, but both are great versions. And that leaves only one album that can be number one. Let There Be Rock. Just a great album. Go Down, Dog Eat Dog, Let There Be Right, Bad Boy Boogie, Problem Child, Overdose, Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be, and then you end it with one of my probably top 5 favorite AC/DC songs, Whole Lotta Rosie. Just fantastic stuff. Not very many artists, I think, in the 70s could really top AC/DC's output during the 70s. Sabbath had some stuff that was subpar in the 70s. I think Priest was building up to who they would become, throughout. But AC/DC, man, they were just kind of like, they were who they were going to be from the start. Wasn't a whole lot of that was going to change from their music. There was an interview one time with Angus, where the interview was like, people say you have 11 albums that sound the same. He's like, no, that's not true. We have 12 albums that sound the same. And AC/DC is very similar to like Motorhead, where, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They have a tried and true formula that worked. With the Brian Johnson era, I do think they got different, a little bit more produced as well. But I don't think they never turned, in my opinion, going back to my previous video that I did just, some minutes ago with Van Halen, you changed the singer, and then all of a sudden they became more of a poppy radio band. Not to say they didn't have songs on the radio before, and that's it. But that's not the case with AC/DC. They stayed a pretty heavy hard rock band. I would say their 70s material leans more towards heavy metal, and their 80s material is more heavy hard rock. But they stayed being a hard rocking band. Just, nothing changed in that aspect as far as when they switched singers. So and I don't mind a band that doesn't really change a whole lot, and I don't mind a band that does change some things up. It just, in this case, not really changing who you are benefited AC/DC. And changing who you are really did not benefit Van Halen, in my opinion, as far as just from a listener's standpoint. Like I said, I don't pay attention to record sales or, number one hits or Billboard charts or anything when I determine what I think is a successful album or a successful era from a band. But that's enough comparing the two. Like I said before in the previous video, if you want to do a spin-off thread of this, do your own video. If you want to leave your ranking in the comment, that's cool too. But either way, thank you for watching, and God bless.